Hello, and welcome to another edition of Resting the Starters. I'm, of course, your bodacious host, AJ Marchase, and I'm joined, as always, by Casey Fleming.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Casey.
Casey who?
Casey Fleming.
And Rob Paul.
I subscribe to the Avril Lavigne conspiracy theory.
And today we're talking...
Luck of the Irish?
You don't want the Warriors to come out and play!
Bye-bye, Spurs.
Fleming, Paul, head to head.
Cinderella's still at the ball.
If the Sens lose in Canada, does anyone see it?
NFL shaking up the rules.
Hotcakes.
RTS. Sports. Would you rather?
But first, as always, let's get to our tweets of the week. And our first of two tweets comes to us from @MattMcCoon93. And he asks, "Hey guys, long-time listener, first-time tweeter. What would be more entertaining and or viable? John Wall as an NFL wide receiver or Deshaun Jackson as an NBA point guard?"
Well, I think John Wall as a football player is far more reasonable than Deshaun Jackson as a basketball player. John Wall and Russell Westbrook are easily two of the fastest players we've ever seen in the NBA, and Wall's got a solid build. I think he's 6'4". He's
6'4", 210-ish, I believe.
Yeah, so like he's actually built similarly to like AJ Green on the Bengals.
Yep.
So I could see John Wall being like potentially an NFL receiver. Deshaun Jackson would only be able to play point guard.
Yeah.
Let's say so he's like 5'11", 180, so he's tiny from basketball standards. He'd have to play point guard. He wouldn't be able to play any defense. He'd be like Isaiah Thomas,
but not good.
Yeah, like he'd have to use his speed all the time, but he's more of a straight line speed guy. I don't know. He'd probably end up being like a Brandon Jennings type at best.
I'm going to go with John Wall too. Wall's younger. He's about 26. Deshaun's what now, like 28 or 9?
29, I think.
Yeah, so it's harder, of course, to learn a brand new sport at the age of 29. Wall's got the NFL size. And he says that he can run a 4.3 to 4.5. And like people say 4.5 at worst. So he's legit NFL size, height, weight, speed receiver.
I would say the only thing like saving Deshaun in this argument would be that like Deshaun's likely shot more hoops in the past few years than John Wall's caught passes.
That's a good point.
That's a good point.
But I still agree. Like John Wall's a freak athlete, so I'd say him as a receiver.
All right. Our second tweet comes from @M_Nolan3. I have no idea who that is, but he asks, two-part question here. First, who has the best finishing move in the WWE? Second, what would your finishing move be?
When I think best finishing move, I'm thinking all time here. I would probably go with Rey Mysterio 619 because it is the only one to ever kill a man.
Wow.
So it is the ultimate finishing move, if you will.
That's who I had written down as well. Who do you have, Rob?
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
How about the Walls of Jericho? I remember that being a thing in the mid-2000s. You know, all those weird Jericho ads? I don't know. It scared me. I was just trying to watch sports.
Sports.
Wait, WWE is real, right?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. It's not like that fake garbage from the Olympics.
Casey, what would your finishing move be?
On her face. Okay, ask me that again.
No. Just keep it in. Please keep it in. Rob, what's your finishing move?
I read them a love story. Bring them to their knees. Bring them to tears. And they'll always remember the one that got away.
That's hauntingly beautiful.
Wow.
All right, those were our tweets of the week. For your chance to be one of the two tweets of the week next week, or whenever we decide to put you on, tweet at us at RTSPod. Hot takes, cold takes, warm takes, lukewarm takes. We take them all. Let's move on now. Talk about some NBA playoffs. We'll start in the East. Cavs Celtics. It is currently Tuesday night, approximately 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So the game is currently going on. Rob, what's the score? Do you know it?
Yeah, boss. It's there's just over 5 minutes left in the second quarter, and Boston is up 46-33.
Boston's up by 13?
Yeah, but Boston's been dominating.
All right. So one of the questions I had written down that looks dumb now, because we planned all this before the game was to start. Is there any chance that they win another game?
Apparently.
Who's winning tonight then, Rob? Make the call right now. Cavs coming back to pull this off or what?
Brad Stevens is going to steal another game because he is one of the 5 best coaches in the NBA.
All right, that's fair. Let's talk about their last win. We both did have Boston stealing a game in the series, but no way we saw it coming after, the 2 demolitions of the Celtics in games 1 and 2 in Boston. I thought that would be a clean sweep, after those 2 games, especially going into the land.
And after losing Isaiah Thomas for the rest of the playoffs, I thought they'd just turn over and die. Yeah, in game 3. And at first, Cleveland was giving it to them, and then Marcus Smart woke up, put the team on his back. He finished with 27 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. He was a man playing possessed. Like, Marcus Smart's known for being a very good defending guard and being a chippy, kind of grindery type guard, because he's a terrible shooter. Like, he's got no range. I think he shot less than 30% this year from 3. But he woke up, he attacked. Brad Stevens, being the great technical coach he is, can adjust on the fly and change the offense to get Marcus Smart good looks with Isaiah Thomas out, get him mismatches on the drive type thing. And also LeBron no-showing really killed them.
Yeah, what do you think happened there with LeBron?
Well, his first half wasn't all that bad. He wasn't shooting a whole lot or scoring. So I think after the first half he had 8 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. But in the second half he only had 3 points, a rebound, and an assist. He only shot 13 times in the game. I think he was looking to be more of a playmaker because Boston was defending him heavily. And in the first half it kind of worked, but he also played for 45 minutes. And think about all the minutes LeBron's played in his career. I think fatigue just caught up to him.
It's a possibility, especially at this time of the year. Going back to what you said, what makes you feel like Brad Stevens is a top 5 coach in the league? Like the way he's been able to orchestrate this team without Isaiah, like in the last game and then in the first half tonight.
Well, I already thought he was a top 5 coach prior to that, because really, Isaiah Thomas is a great scorer and everything, but Isaiah Thomas is such a terrible defender because he's only 5'8", and Brad Stevens can adjust his team on the fly to kind of handle anything. The Celtics have a weird roster that's like a combination of irrational confidence guys, small ball guys. Like Al Horford isn't like the classic center. He's a stretch 5 basically, and most of his work is done stretching the floor and running screens. He's not like that great a rebounder. The team's a bad rebounding team, yet they were the 1 seed in the East. Stevens can kind of just adjust his system. His system's so deep. He has so many different plays that it kind of doesn't really matter who's in. He can run his plays through almost anyone, for anyone. He adjusts so well.
All right, fair enough. I think Brad Stevens is a great coach too. And Casey, let me ask you something. If you could be any mascot in the NBA, which mascot would you be?
Well, what is a clipper?
It's a type of boat.
Yeah, I'll do that.
All right, I'll ride you all night long, Case. Moving on. Anything left to say about that series, Rob?
No, you hit everything.
All right. Moving on to the West. The series is already over. Warriors Spurs. Warriors swept it in 4 games. Of course, Kawhi going down in the series, it kind of signaled the end for the Spurs.
Kawhi, oh why?
You said it best, Casey. I think first we gotta pay tribute to how great this Warriors team, how dominant this Warriors team has been in the playoffs. Have you seen a run like this in the playoffs before, Rob?
Not since the Warriors last year.
Wow. That's a huge indictment on the entire sport.
Well,
save it, Casey. Save it, Casey. We'll get there in a minute.
I mean, when you have 4 All-NBA guys and you're playing the Spurs who are without Kawhi, who's basically their everything, and even without Tony Parker, who's at this point, I think he's 35 and he's not fantastic, but he still understands what Pop wants and can run the system. Like, the Spurs roster's pretty bad in reality, in a team with 4 All-NBA guys, and not to mention the Warriors have a very good bench. They just walked on them, and nobody should have expected anything differently after Kawhi went out.
I mean, it's really impressive how easily the Warriors, I'll say, reloaded, because, adding Durant, having to cut so much salary, but bringing in new guys that have contributed so much, like bench guys. Of course, like when you're bringing in Durant, you're going to become a better team, but the thing that made the Warriors so great the last 2 years and this year is the strength of their bench, and it's kind of crazy. First team ever to sweep 3 series in the NBA playoffs. They still got another one to go. First team ever to go 12-0. It's been a kind of a crazy run, and not too many games, if any, have been close at all. Anything else to say about the Warriors here, Rob?
I think JaVale McGee needs a nice little shout out here for what he's done this year, because Shaq's always going after him, and rightfully so prior to this year. But I think JaVale McGee averaged something per 36, like 22, 11, and 3 blocks. And he's kind of found his role. He's such a freak athlete that's just never really known how to use his skill set.
Yeah.
And you get him on a well-coached team like the Warriors, they find where he fits best. They know how to use him in the right moments. Same thing with turning Iggy into one of the best 6 men in the league, and he should win 6th Man of the Year this year. And even guys like like unheard of guys like Ian Clark and Patrick McCaw have turned into very good bench players because the Warriors know how to use their guys.
Yep, that's very true. Going back to what you touched upon a little bit, let me ask you a question, Rob. If you took away Kawhi Leonard, and we got a peek of that in the playoffs, and you took away Greg Popovich from the San Antonio Spurs, what would this team look like? How many games would this team win?
Are you giving me a healthy Tony Parker?
Sure.
They'd be under 500. I'll say 35 wins at best.
Wow. And why do you feel like that?
Because they're a lot of their guys are just old or don't fit the style of play in the NBA anymore. Like Tony Parker's 35. He's a solid player, but he's really not even a starter quality point guard with how much talent in the NBA at the position now. Like,
yeah.
Give me Yogi Ferrell on Dallas over him. I love Yogi Ferrell though. But and you look like Patty Mills is basically a glorified Matthew Dellavedova, and then you get Pau Gasol's so washed up. Watching him try to play last night, he has no foot speed. If anyone who has any athleticism gets a one-on-one with him, they just blow by him, and like he can't really add. He adds nothing on defense, and he adds very little on offense these days. He should probably just retire. LaMarcus Aldridge is like unwilling to use his body against the Warriors, even though they're like a small ball team. And the best option would be just work like a true big man against them on offense. But no, he just always settles for these weird mid-range jumpers because that at his peak, he was like a very good mid-range jumper guy in Portland. And I think LaMarcus Aldridge's style of play is going extinct. Then like
fair enough.
Danny Green's a very good defender, and he's a solid 3-and-D guy, but like he's a starting shooting guard in this league. But he's like at best your third offensive option. Manu's about to retire, and then their best player might be Jonathan Simmons.
Yeah, maybe.
Who's like a 27-year-old no-name guy who I'm convinced is good because Pop made him good. Same with Dwayne Dedmon. Or even last night, Deontay Murray looked like a future starting point guard. And he'll, I think, eventually take over for Tony Parker. But, like, this isn't a good roster. It's Kawhi Leonard and Pop run this team. And without them, they wouldn't be the 8th seed in the West.
If you just put Pop back into this situation, so no Kawhi, is he worth like 10 wins?
I say that they could take the 8th seed in the West with just Pop being added back to the roster. Maybe even more than 10 wins.
Fair enough. He's one of the greatest coaches in NBA history. You touch on it also a little bit there, Rob. But do you think this is Manu's last game? And if so, what do you think his legacy is going to be?
I think it probably was Manu's last game. At this point, I think you're him. You could come back. Like, you're just chasing rings at this point, and he's already got 3 of them, I think. And you kind of know, if you're Manu, you're not getting through the Warriors with how they're built. And even if you miraculously did, you're not getting through Cleveland. So he doesn't have anything else to add to his resume, really. And when he came out of the game last night and the crowd went wild and started chanting Manu, that was a super cool moment. I won't lie.
You cried.
I teared up a little bit. I don't know. Manu, when you look back, Manu revolutionized the 6-man position. He was like known among all NBA fans, despite being, I think, at most he was like a 4-year starter for his career. But
I think last night was his first start since 2013 or something crazy.
Yeah,
unless I'm wrong.
And Pop started him because like he kind of like, out of respect for him.
Farewell, yeah.
But when you look back on Manu in 10 years, you're gonna remember this slick shooting guard who could come off the bench and spark the offense. And he really did revolutionize the 6-man spot, in my opinion. He's a Hall of Famer, and he's a 6th man.
I was about to ask you that, yeah. But the NBA Hall of Fame is kind of, easy to get into. But
first, it's the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I will excuse myself. I'll never talk again on the show.
Yeah, Basketball Hall of Fame's not the most difficult of the Hall of Fames to get into, that's for sure.
No, definitely. All right, let's talk about basketball now. Let's bring Casey into the conversation for once. And because you guys are both so passionate about hating the NBA and loving the NBA, I want to put you two head-to-head against each other, get some heated argument going, and I'll ask you guys a question. Does the dominance of 2 teams, the Warriors and the Cavs, make the NBA playoffs the least exciting of the big 4 sports? Casey, you're the underdog here. I'll throw it to you first.
I'm going to come in with the take that the NBA as a whole is the worst of all 4 sports. And
no.
I'm coming from a stance of...
Wait.
I think, like, the MLB and the NHL are interesting to watch, regardless of playoffs or not, because any team could win at any time. Like, there's so much parity that, like, you want to tune in to actually find out who wins. In the NBA, like, the better team wins almost every time. And then on top of that, you have these 2 teams that are exceptional and, like, they were built by the players, these super teams. And there's no parity in the entire rest of the league except for at the bottom, which doesn't mean anything. And then you have these 2 teams that everyone knows the last 2 whole seasons. You might as well have just went straight to the finals for playoffs because everybody knew. As soon as you get rid of the OKC and Warriors series in the semis last year, like, that was the only interesting series that actually mattered in the last 2 years for the playoffs. So in my mind, like, basketball is boring to watch in general because it's hard to get excited about 2 points being scored when you're going to score 115 in a night. So, like, there's no real points of excitement. And Rob, when you can practically throw out the entire season and the majority of the playoffs because you know that it's all for naught anyways, then what's the point of watching anything?
Rob, I just want to thank you for waiting. I can hear your blood boiling from here.
AJ, hold
What's
me
your
back.
counterpoint? What's your counterpoint?
I'm going to start swinging.
Go ahead, Rob.
The NBA is more talented now than it has been in over a decade. We are witnessing the most talented teams that maybe anybody has ever witnessed. I think writing off a league because just two specific teams are so talented that they're going to meet in the finals is not right. We have these two heavyweights that we sure, we know they're going to see each other in the finals, but it's legendary. This is like Magic versus Bird, like the Lakers versus the Celtics in the 80s. And we have the best player of our era taking on the best team of our era. We should be happy that we're witnessing this history. And like I said, the rosters are more talented now than they ever have been. You can get put on any given game outside of unless Brooklyn's going to have to play someone else, so you will. Any given game you put on, you're going to see someone who's just so fun to watch. The point guard position's never been this deep. I think writing off a whole league just because there's two powerful teams is crazy. And baseball is so boring. Baseball's not even fun, right? Like, let's I like to fall asleep to it sometimes. I guess it's kind of like the Masters.
But like the exciting moments in baseball are exceptional, like a game-winning home run or like a walk-off hit in general or anything like that. Like the big moments are so massive that doesn't really happen in basketball outside of the last 2 seconds.
I don't know, man. I watched this Game 7 in the NBA Finals last year, and LeBron made his resume-making play with that pin block because he's the king of the pin block. That series was legendary. What should have been the greatest team of all time was taken down by the underdog Cavs, led by LeBron, who's playing out of his mind.
They were underdogs, but it was a super team that everyone knew was going to make to the finals that was assembled by LeBron. Like everyone, like sure, it was the Warriors had an amazing season, but everyone forgot that at the start of the season, everyone thought that it was going to be the Cavs in the finals. Like it wasn't like they had no talent.
LeBron didn't assemble the team. Kyrie Irving was already there when he decided to come home. I don't know. Personally, I love basketball. I'm an NBA guy.
My rebuttal would be like your whole argument is based on basketball relative to past basketball. Like you're saying like it's much more fun to watch now, but you're saying like that's relative to other eras of basketball. But I'm saying like I would rather sit down and watch a hockey game in the playoffs any day. I would rather sit down and watch a baseball playoff game. I would much rather sit down and watch an NFL playoff game. In any other sport, pretty much, the underdog team can win. Like a true underdog, not like the one of these two teams, which we know they're both going to make the finals, isn't slightly as good as the other one. Like a true underdog in hockey can take it, as can be seen by the 8th seed Preds who are making the finals right now.
I think another big thing for me in my love of the NBA versus NHL and MLB is like the personalities you get. I feel like you really know the guys. Like it's just I find it to be a really cool atmosphere. Baseball seems like such a cut and dry sport to me. And again, it kind of goes back. Me and Casey are both NFL guys, number one all day for both of us. Casey's next would be MLB and mine would be the NBA. And I think it's kind of just like what you grow up around.
Rob, let me jump in here for a second. And if you will, put on your average fan hat here.
All
so
right,
instead of your...
it.
Okay. Take it out of the closet. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So you got your average fan hat on. You don't have your heart on your sleeve for the NBA. You're not passionate. You love sports, but you need that big game to happen. Why are you tuning in, say, January 31st to watch the Atlanta Hawks versus the Washington Wizards?
Like, aside from John Wall is a freak?
It was just an example, but you know what I'm asking you.
Well, for me, basketball's a high-paced sport. And the adjustments coaches have to make on the fly is pretty cool versus if I'm comparing it to baseball specifically, it's a slower sport. You have time to like kind of think things through. Baseball's a very technical sport, and I think basketball's undersold as a technical sport because the adjustments coaches have to make on a fly makes or breaks a team. I don't know. I just personally like the speed of the sport. The athletes are all freaks. I don't know. I'm just a basketball guy.
Yeah, but I asked you to put on your average fan hat.
Okay. My average fan hat. If I could watch a basketball game or a baseball game,
sure.
Baseball's so slow. There's no personality in baseball.
But there's points to get excited about, right? Like, sure, it's slow most of the time, but like it's kind of that balance between soccer where it's just absolute nothing and then you get 1 goal a game, or basketball where you get literally 200 plus points being scored. It's like, how do you ever get excited about any points being scored when you know there's going to be that many scored in a game? Like, unless there's something like absolutely freaky, which doesn't happen every game.
The speed of the game. It's like a non-stop back and forth game.
Hold on, Rob. Let me ask you a quick follow-up here. You said it's about the speed of the game. Then why isn't the NHL beloved in the United States of America? Like, just hypothetically. You know what I'm saying?
It's just like, I don't know. I think versus in Canada, most kids grow up playing hockey, but in the States, they're not kind of like that's. It's just not part of the culture there, I guess.
All right.
They're not really introduced to it in the South, I guess. That would be my best guess as a Canadian, guessing why Americans are so low on hockey when they shouldn't be, outside of the great state of Tennessee.
Okay, Casey, let me ask you a question now. You said before that it's boring knowing who's going to be in the finals for 3 straight years. And, you know, we all want to see that matchup, and the whole season is boring. But now, hypothetically, 2 great NFL franchises, 16-0, 16-0. They run through the playoffs. They make it to the Super Bowl. Are you not excited for that game?
The only time I've ever known going into the season that a team was likely going to win a Super Bowl was this past year with the Pats. And that made the entire AFC boring to me. Like, the NFC was exciting, so it was still good to watch. But, like, that in itself made it boring. So if there was 2 teams that we know coming into the season were, like, head and shoulders above everyone else, then I would say that year would be a boring year, yes.
Okay, fair enough. And I'll ask you one more question, Casey. I know you don't like basketball, but put on an average basketball fan's hat, if you will.
Okay, just a second.
Okay. Where's it? In the closet?
Yeah, okay, we're good.
Okay. Would you want a different matchup in the NBA Finals? Like, would you want the Celtics to upset the Cavs and the Spurs to hypothetically, going back in time, to beat the Warriors? Would that be more exciting for you?
No, like, I think this series, or, like, hypothetically, like, you never know. I guess the Celtics could pull this one out too, but no, we know the Cavs are going to make it. So, like, this upcoming series is obviously going to be quite good, but I'm just saying, when you have 82 games in the season and then however many games in the playoffs to make it this far, when you knew exactly that was going to happen, like, it just doesn't seem worth it. Like, the ends doesn't justify the means.
I think we can boil it down to Casey hates basketball and loves parody, and Rob loves basketball, and that's pretty much it. And hates baseball.
No, I like baseball because it's a good nap.
No, I know, but
well, it's not the Masters.
Okay, we all hate
nothing touches the Masters nap.
Especially, it's nice Sunday afternoon. Crank went out 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock. That's a solid nap. All right, guys.
You're a little hungover. To me, 4 Locos the night before.
Yeah, John Daly style. All right, guys. I think we can all agree to disagree on this one and shake hands, be a pair of gentlemen, and it was a well-fought battle. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about a sport we all kind of love, I guess. We think it's overrated in Canada. But anyways, the NHL playoffs. And we'll start in the West. The Preds, the aforementioned Preds, making it to the Stanley Cup Finals after beating the Ducks 4-2 in the series. And like you said, Casey, the last team in the playoffs, number 16 really, made it to the finals, to the Stanley Cup Finals. It looked a bit tumultuous at times in the last game. The Ducks tying it up after being down 3-1. What do you guys think about the game and the series as a whole?
last night's game specifically, like the Ducks dominated the shot differential, and they basically outplayed the Preds until the end. The Ducks their goaltending killed them, man.
Yeah, like you do not want Jonathan Bernier starting.
Yeah,
an elimination game.
I think at one point when it was 3-3, the shot differential was like 37 shots for the Ducks, 13 for the Preds.
Wow. And like Bernier was letting in some soft goals, especially the first one. What do you think, Casey?
On a whole level, like it's good to see Nashville, apparently the biggest hockey city in all of the United States, make it this far. Who'd have thought they'd be the only team left in playoffs at the semifinals mark that hadn't had a game that wasn't completely sold out at home. Like Ottawa, wow. Even Pittsburgh has had a game in playoffs that didn't completely sell out.
That's crazy.
Who'd have thunk that Nashville would have such a cool hockey following? I just like that whole environment, really. So I'm definitely on board with the Preds.
Oh, it's really cool. I especially love watching the tight ends offensive line pound beers.
Taylor cool. Luan threw a catfish on the ice last night. Very cool. The Preds fan base has grown because everyone who doesn't have a team in the playoffs is now hoping for the Predators. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, probably. I mean, unless you're Canadian and you want to cheer for the Sens because they're Canadian. Also, they're a good story.
Yeah.
So, tie game. The Preds apparently shoot the puck clear over the boards, the glass, excuse me, which should be a delay of game penalty. I couldn't tell, to be honest, if it hit the glass or not. But there's no call. Rob is very passionate in believing that it should have been a call.
Yep.
And then immediately following, they scored the game-winning goal. Go ahead, Rob. What do you want to say about that?
It looked like he cleared it straight up. They said it must have tipped something for them not to call the delay of game.
Yeah.
But I watched the replay about 5 times, and I couldn't tell. Like, to me, it looked like it didn't tip anything. And the Preds, I'm not sure who it was on Nashville. But it looked like it should have been a delay of game on Nashville. They don't call it after the refs discuss it for a little bit. The commentators fully believed it should have been a delay of game as well. Mm-hmm. And then the Preds basically instantly come down the ice and score and basically put the game away after that. That made it 4-3, and then they got 2 empty net goals.
Yeah. I think a big question, the series is done. I think the Preds still would have taken Game 7, but of course, bad luck for the Ducks there. But I mean, you should have got better goaltending. No offense. Big question for the Preds though is, can they beat the Penguins or Senators without Ryan Johansson? What do you guys think?
Well, I think that what's carried the Preds for a lot of the playoffs is their goaltending with Pecorine, and their defense and their like high energy play. So I'm a big Ryan Johansson guy. Because when he was on Columbus and he was in the shootout competition, he wore an Ohio State jersey.
Oh no!
But I don't think having him is the difference for them to beat the Pens. I'm assuming.
Or the Sens.
I'm throwing the Sens under the bus a little bit here, but the game's currently 1-1 with 5 minutes left in the second period. But I don't think the Sens are going to win that series. So I'm thinking it's a Preds-Pens final.
All right, how about you, Casey? You think the Johansson-less Preds can still win the Cup?
I think they're going to have to go back to how good they were playing in the early series, like against Chicago, especially. Like Rob said, it's going to come down to Pecorine and their defense really stepping up. But that's the way that they were playing in the first series. They need to go back to that style where they're winning these 3-1, 2-1 hockey games instead of the higher scoring ones like they've been as of late.
And they're gonna need someone on that offense to step up as the playmaker facilitator in Johansson's spot.
All right, let's move to the other series, the Eastern Conference. The Pens and the Sens, they're playing right now. It's 1-1 apparently. 5 minutes to go in the second. The series is 2-3 in the Penguins' favor. Loss tonight sends the Sens home. Rob, you think the Pens are going to take it tonight?
Carlson's injured. He's so banged up right now, and he's kind of what carries Ottawa, right? And
yes.
He's playing tonight through I think it's an ankle. And
yeah, it's ankle.
Carlson is already we talked about it last episode. Carlson's playing with 2 stress fractures in his foot. Now he's got the ankle.
And it looked bad.
Yeah, and the fact that he's playing tonight blows my mind. Had a lot of cortisone shots for him, I'm sure. But I don't know. I just don't see the Senators able to take this. The Pens have so much more firepower.
All right. And of course, the Sens are currently hosting Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals. And the sad thing is that they are struggling to sell out hockey games. And just how sad is that? Is this I don't know. What do you guys think is going on in Ottawa? Why aren't they selling out?
Well, they're all Red Blacks fans. They subscribe to the idea, the entity of the CFL. And they're probably getting ready for the CFL season and don't want to spend their money on Senators playoff tickets.
No, that's exactly it, Rob. That's a very good point. Huge Red Blacks fans. They show up and they show up big at Red Blacks games, and clearly they're just preparing themselves.
Defending the Grey Cup this year, boys.
You think they can do it without Henry Burris?
I think who's the backup quarterback? Trevor Harris, maybe?
Sure, why not?
Johnny Manziel.
May as well be. Hamilton's got the rights to every cool quarterback, though.
Unless the quarterback's from the Big East, I don't know who they are. Do you guys think this is a sign that the NHL shouldn't put any more teams in Canada, or is it just a sign that, Ottawa fans don't want to apparently drive out to Canada and stuff like that?
They should probably just not put another team in Ottawa.
That's probably a good plan, even if it's downtown.
Ooh, the downtown Ottawa Oilers.
Yep, that's got a good ring to it. The Ottawa Oilers.
Ottawa is known for using names that are already taken, so.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, full circle. CFL.
CFL talk, baby. Casey, do you got anything else to add about this?
No, I think if you plopped a team down in Hamilton, they would sell out every single game, regardless of how good or bad that team is. Or if you
would
put
that
a
hurt
team,
the Leafs though?
Pardon?
Would that hurt the Leafs' attendance? You think?
No, absolutely not. The Leafs have too many fans. It is absolutely miserable living around the Toronto area because every single person and their dog is a Leaf fan.
You mean it's amazing. Anyways, continue, Casey.
So, I think if you would get the immediate market of, Hamilton and, the smaller surrounding cities, and they would convert. But, that is nothing. That's pocket change for Leaf fans. You'd easily be able to support both of them.
It might hurt the Sabres more than it hurts the Leafs. But yeah, Regina, Saskatoon, whichever one, I think they could support a hockey team. Winnipeg's been amazing, the NHL coming back there. I think they sell it every single game. Amazing home crowd. Throw a team in Nova Scotia. I think they're surviving.
Bring back the Nordiques, and they're going to sell out a playoff game at least.
Absolutely.
Seattle's part of Canada too, right?
Yeah, for me at least, yeah.
Yeah, Seattle needs a basketball and a hockey team.
Totally agree. Russell Wilson's going to bring it to them, don't worry. All right, with that, let's go to a break, probably way beyond the middle of the show, but whatever. Let's take a break, hear a little bit from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Mayor of Boca Raton, Joey Freshwater, and I'm here to tell you, Bus Gradley is wrong! It ain't Boca Raton. Bus, learn the French language! Boca is home to the Florida Atlantic Owl football team! Hooty hoo! Our Owls could probably beat the measly Jags! Our coach Lane Kiffin is a genius! He discovered that sand is between the sea and the land, and that's how it got its name! We're even the hometown of ARCA Racing Series legend, Dalton Sargent, who's even from Jacksonville. Some guys named after former presidents Theodore Roosevelt and Abraham Lincoln. Come to Boca. We're getting a Denny's in 2023.
Brought to you by the Tourism Board of Boca Raton.
All right, welcome back from the break. And,
What? What's going on?
is it D'Antoni again? Okay, I'll answer it. Hello, is this D'Antoni? Hi, I'm Bus Crowley, Mayor of Jacksonville, and 2007 Chili Cook-Off champ. I'm very proud of both. How's it going, guys?
Well, it's, I'm all right.
Yeah, it's.
Is this Gus Bradley or Bradley Gus? What?
Bus Crowley. I'm the mayor of Jacksonville. Stupid. Don't you listen to my ads on your gosh darn show?
That was a bit excessive, especially for
a
mayor.
Well, look. From my understanding, this is a Jacksonville-based podcast. You want to support Jacksonville, and now I'm hearing Boca Raton's coming on and advertising. What's the deal?
Well, they offered us more money.
Yeah, they give us like $500 for that one ad. Well, look, okay? I get it. You want to make the monies. But Jacksonville's beautiful. Boca Raton's terrible. Like, it's so boring there. Picture an old droopy dog on a hot summer's day. That's Boca. All right,
is it
Bus. Like, what else are you? Do you got any sports-related questions or anything? I don't know. We're really sorry for this whole mix-up. I mean, it's a corporate world now, man. We're capitalists. We got to just make our own money. Look, I understand. And I will ask you a sports question. Jacksonville Jaguars, they got the best defense in the NFL this year, right? Okay, goodbye.
Is he going to hang up and listen?
Yeah, I guess he's taking his call off the air.
Oh, okay, perfect.
That was very abrupt. He said his piece, and I don't know. And you know what? I'm going to go with him and say the Jags are going to have the best defense in the NFL this year. I think he's right.
On paper, they have to be pretty good, I mean, realistically. But they'll still end up
top
being...
5.
They'll still end up being, like, mid-range, just because it's Jacksonville.
All right, guys. Hopefully no one else calls the show ever again. I don't even know why we have a line. It's apparently open now for whoever to call whenever they want to call. All right, let's move on and talk about the NFL. The league the Jaguars play in, if you didn't know. They made some changes today to some rules, and we'll start off with the overtime changes. And the NFL actually decided to change their overtime from 15 minutes to 10 minutes. What do you guys think of this change?
More ties. It's great for football.
As a fan
European
of a team
football.
that tied in this most recent season, it is extremely upsetting. For me, like, if you want to add excitement, what you're going to need to do is essentially develop some sort of version of the college overtime and do that. Because to me, that's the most exciting overtime in any sport, really.
I was going to ask you about that in a second, Casey. But, okay, put your Roger Goodell hat on, if you will. And
okay, I'm kissing my sister now.
I just turned a blind eye to somebody punching their girlfriend.
Oh, no.
Oh.
So
we're both
why
Roger Goodell.
Why do you guys think they what is their reason behind this change? It can't be because they want more ties. That's silly. What do you guys think the reason is?
I thought it was to try and limit injury moving into like weeks after the overtime games.
That's what I thought too. Because I think if the Seattle Arizona tie, there was a crazy amount of injuries that week, and I'm pretty sure Seattle ended up getting banged up the next week too. Like that makes sense. Maybe it's because they don't want to run into their next game or time slot. If there's a 1:00 games, they don't want them running into the 4:00 games. That even happens without OT. But Rob, you brought up an interesting point about maybe trying to force teams to be more attacking, but I don't know if that's the case.
Well, then,
maybe,
like I said, Roger Goodell kisses his sister. I don't really know. Ties are stupid. Why is it even an option in the NFL to tie? Just give them another overtime. No one likes ties.
All right. So if you were to change overtime, Rob, I'll ask you first, what would you change the NFL overtime to?
College overtime is the best overtime. Each team gets a chance from their own or from the opposing team's 25-yard line to either score a touchdown, kick a field goal, and then the other team gets a chance to match them. And then if they do, it goes to another overtime, and eventually they have to go for 2.
Yeah, college overtime. We understand, Rob. What do you think, Casey?
Well, I wasn't explaining it to you guys. I was explaining it to the listener.
Wait, people are listening to us? People are listening to us right now?
Hi, James.
Voices in my head.
My big issue with it is maybe it's kind of like a mini game, you know what I mean? The college overtime. So my idea would be to do a blend of college, but make it a little bit more professional. Instead of starting at the 25-yard line, maybe start the 50-yard line. So that way, you're still having a legitimate drive, and it's not just, you're almost guaranteed to score a touchdown. What do you guys think of that idea, starting at the 50?
What if you started at the 25, and if you scored and they scored, then you'd move back to the 35, and it just kept on moving back and back, and you had to sustain further and further drives.
I like that.
It's interesting, yeah. I like that idea too. I don't know, but yeah, they should definitely be trying to put out the best product on the field, and not waiting for more ties. Let's move on to their other big rule change today. And the NFL is now allowing
fun.
More more celebrations, like, using the ball as a prop and going to the ground in celebration. They actually mentioned snow angels in the release, as funny as that is. And I think they're allowing group celebrations too now. Like the old school fun bunch high five and stuff like that. How do you guys feel about this rule change?
I like it a lot.
It's terrific.
It's no longer the no fun league. So how is it setting a bad example if you're celebrating a touchdown? It's like, what are you trying to prove to these kids, Roger Goodell, that you're never supposed to celebrate any feat? I don't understand what you're trying. You need to worry about domestic violence at the sport and stop worrying about celebrations.
Celebrating feet? Who are you, Rex Ryan?
Shut the fuck up.
What do you think, Rob?
I don't know why it took them so long. Who cares if guys celebrate a touchdown? Shouldn't they be?
Oh, yeah. What would be excessive in your guys' mind? Like, the old school TO run to the star. Is that too much? A 50-yard sprint?
A prop is excessive, like the Joe Horn cell phone, or when TO pulled the pen out and signed the ball.
Yeah.
I think leaving the end zone is probably excessive. Like, leaving it in the way TO did and coming onto the field. Like, Lambeau leaping's fine.
Yeah.
But I think those are both excessive, and anything, offensive is obviously excessive.
How about you, Case?
I'm the exact opposite. I don't think really anything short of, an actual crime being committed, I'm completely fine with. I want to see production value. I want to see $1 million budgets for single celebrations. Just go all out. Fireworks is not enough. I'm talking, personal fireworks. Somebody has multiple Roman candles in their socks, pulls them out, starts shooting them at fans. Actually, no, that breaks my one rule.
That
Never
sounds
mind.
very dangerous.
But no, for real though, it makes the game so much more fun to watch. And as much as I hate players like Antonio Brown because I hate the Steelers, his celebrations are always fun to watch when he's scoring.
So you'd be into Michael Bay presents a Jeremy Maclin touchdown reception.
I'd be really into Christopher Nolan presents a Jeremy Maclin TD celebration.
The worst director of all time. Michael Bay is so much better.
Actually, yeah. If you were gonna give him one role, I would rather have him directing TD celebrations than actual Transformers 45.
That's a good point. All right, I'll ask you guys this now. What is your all-time favorite celebration?
Okay, for mine, it's probably going to be a little bit surprising considering I'm a Bengals fan and they have some pretty famous ones, with almost all of them that Ocho pulled off and the Icky Shuffle as well. But I'm not going to go with either of those. I'm going to go with, surprisingly, this kind of pains me to say it, but William Gay's excessive celebration against the Bengals when he got a pick six. And he walked it into the end zone and then proceeded to have a dance with what seemed like every single player that was dressed on the 53-man roster that day. He just went from one player to another dancing a different dance and then ended up crawling on the ground and just dancing towards, I believe it was Joey Porter on the sidelines. And I remember being so livid as this was happening. But as I watch it a year later, I just do nothing but just die laughing every time I watch it because it's so beyond excessive. He got flagged for excessive celebration roughly a quarter of the way through the celebration.
Okay. How about yours, Ralph?
You guys aren't going to like mine, but it's the Barry Sanders act like you've been there before.
Ooh. I was actually going to say that as a joke. Do you actually mean it?
I actually mean it.
And how come?
Barry Sanders is such a badass because every time he scored, he just handed the ball to the ref and walked away. Didn't even look happy about it. And I think that's a celebration in itself.
Easy, Roger.
It's too easy for him, baby.
For me, you know what I like? I like the Ochocinco putting the football. I don't know. It's simple. Doesn't take too much time. Using the pylon as a prop. Not too elaborate. No one can hate on him for doing that. All right. Next question. In your guys' illustrious football careers, what was your go-to celebration after those many, many touchdowns? What was your go-to?
No, the only one that I can remember was a pick six, and by the time I got to the end zone, I felt like I just needed an air mask, so I just did nothing but drop
James
the football
Harrison.
and practically keel over.
How about you, Rob?
I never scored a touchdown in my
Me either.
illustrious football career. I played linebacker mainly and then offensive line. One time I intercepted a pass, and I was so stunned by it I just didn't react.
Like
strategy.
Forrest Gump? Like he didn't run?
Like I deflected it and then caught it, took 2 steps, and a much faster, bigger man tackled me. And then I just couldn't believe what I had done. I acted like I'd been there before.
All right. I never scored a touchdown either. I never caught a pass. I never got an interception. I think I blocked a field goal once, and I was surprised by that. And I recovered the fumble, and I acted like I'd been there before. Casey, come on, man, you're better than that. Moving on. Disappointing, Casey. Let's go to everyone's favorite segment. It's time to fire up the griddle and get the syrup ready. We're talking hotcakes. Casey, let's get it sizzling and started with you.
Okay, my hot take is the Bengals are going to either go 12-4 or better, or 4-12 or worse, and there will be no in between. And it is all going to essentially rest on the shoulders of the offensive line.
Get the extinguisher and spray it on the Black Forest, because that's a burning hot cake. Rob, what do you got?
The Lakers pass on Lonzo Ball for De'Aaron Fox.
Ooh.
And the thinking here is Magic Johnson. These are his 2 targets right now. Is the word on the street, and Lonzo won't try out for anyone but the Lakers because LeVar is a good dad and doesn't want his son to have to go 3rd overall or something, or 1st even. He wants 2nd. That's fine, but Magic apparently wants Fox and Ball to go 1-on-1 in a workout, and it sounds as if there's no way Lonzo Ball's going to do it. And Fox has this type of intensity about him that I think Magic Johnson's going to fall in love with. Fox is like a Russell Westbrook type of psychopath and a freak athlete. He's kind of like he's similar skill set to John Wall. He can't really shoot. He's a solid facilitator. He's going to be a very good defender, and he attacks the rim. Versus Lonzo's the type of passer, playmaker we haven't seen since Jason Kidd maybe. But either way, they still have D'Angelo Russell on that offense at guard, and I think Russell can make the move to shooting guard, and because he was kind of a combo guard at Ohio State, and I think you put him and Ball back there, they're gonna get killed on defense. But if you put him and Fox back there, they have a better chance to stay alive. And I think there's a lot of baggage you get with Lonzo Ball that
100%.
I don't think Magic Johnson's gonna want to. Why would any GM want to subscribe to that garbage? You're gonna have his dad going on, Colin Cowherd's show every week and yelling at people.
And how big of a stir is even Lonzo's first game when he shows up wearing those terrible shoes, and that's gonna be the headline for the entire franchise. You don't want that being your headline.
That's gotta be Devil's Food Cake because it's hotter than hell. Let's move on. All right, let's get to our next segment, and our final segment, which is going to be another game of ours. And this game is called Would You Rather? And how this works is I pose you guys a question, then you ask questions on both scenarios to find out which one is the correct answer. And there is a correct answer. Whoever gets the correct answer will be awarded a point and will be the winner of the game. Understand?
Nope.
Never.
All right. The question is, would you rather be a Browns fan who is Would you rather be a Browns fan who is cryogenically frozen in 1975 and woke up a month ago, or a Bengals fan who lives the last 23 years over and over and over? Question period has begun.
Why 1975 for the Browns?
I don't know. I feel like they were competent before 1975.
But they were competent in the Bernie Kosar era.
Yeah.
So I missed that.
You would miss that.
And the Brian Hora. Jesus. Hoyer.
The Brian Hora era.
But you are waking up into the Myles Garrett and the Sashi Brown era.
Yes.
Honestly, like,
Deshaun Kaiser's number one QB.
It pains me to say this, and like they deserve zero benefit of the doubt, but I kind of think I'd take the Browns because it seems like they're heading in the right direction. They have no idea who their actual quarterback is going to be, but they have added an exceptional amount of talent on that roster. And you say the Bengals last 25 years, but that's been just
23 years.
Two awful coaches that lasted way too long while having no real success when it matters. So that's just disappointment.
Wait, it's the Bengals the last 23 years?
Yes, and you relive it over and over and over with no memory.
So I get to watch Joe Montana beat us in the Super Bowl twice?
Not just twice, but forevermore, yep.
I get to watch Tim Crumry break his leg in the gruesome fashion in the Super Bowl over and over.
And Carson Palmer tears ACL against the Steelers. But you don't know that's going to happen.
Browns. I pick Browns.
Casey?
Yeah, Browns. Like, sure, they made the Super Bowls, but that's even more disappointing because they were using the Ohio River offense against them, which was then renamed to the West Coast offense. But, like, those should have been their Super Bowls because Walsh should have been the Bengals coach.
Oh, bitter Bengals fan right here.
I'll give Casey the win because he is Casey wins.
But we both answered the same thing.
No, you didn't. He gave the correct answer. You gave the wrong answer.
Thank you, AJ.
You're welcome, Casey.
Looks like we're 2-1 in the games.
Yep, sweet victory for you, Case. And I like that you are going against your own team. I respect that, even though it's a bad thing to do. And you will forever enjoy the factory of sadness instead of being in that terrible time loop. The Browns will never win a Super Bowl in that situation either. But
I guess I shouldn't have been an asshole last pod because now I'm paying for it.
No, honestly, it wasn't because of that. Casey just had the correct answer. What do you want, Rob?
What do you want from me?
What do you want from me? That will do it for this episode of Resting the Starters. Thank you all for listening. And the last thing we got to do today is ask Rob what he's writing about on his website and to make Casey sad because he lives a very boring life. Plugs. What do you got, Rob?
Go on armchairallamericans.com and read.
Casey, how about you?
Nothing.
Like I expected. You can follow us on Twitter at RTSPod. Vote in our poll. We got one up. Pretty please. Pretty please vote for it. I'm not saying up pretty please. I'm saying pretty please vote for it. Tweet us whatever else you got. You got a chance to be next week's Tweet of the Week. We're a very good shoulder to cry on. Whatever you want to say, just tweet at us. I don't know why we want this so bad, but we do. Rate and review us on iTunes. Check out our YouTube channel and our little website, restingthestars.pontiac.co. For Casey Fleming and Rob Paul, I'm Agent Marchase, saying goodbye, alligator.
Sports.
Okay. Anything else? Anything else to say? No? Good. Shut up.